Hi guys, it's Tara and welcome back to Crafting with Curly Cues. Today I am here for Mint Owl Studio with a little set of thank you cards using the Sweet Treats stamp set that is so super cute. And I'm going to show you how to do some coloring with your distress inks. So this set of cards was really fast to create. In fact, I created all 6 of them in less than an hour. So I'm going to be using that really cute Sweet Treats stamp set that just came out from Mint Owl Studios. And I started by using one of my MFT pierced square stackable die cuts to cut some little squares out of some watercolor cardstock. So I have 6 of those little squares and I'm going to stamp them all exactly the same. And because I'm doing all the same, I'm going to go ahead and bust out my MISTI so that I can just pop those stamps on there one time and then ink them up and stamp them over and over on the same exact spot. So I'm using that really cute little wrapped up candy there, and then I'm using the sentiment that says thanks sweetie. I think it's so super cute. And I love how just kind of small and dainty it all is, and I really thought that it was going to be a really great set for a nice, clean, and simple card design here. So I gotta tell you, my personal life has been like, I feel like I'm going 90 million miles an hour, and just when I think I can slow down, something else happens. And so I was really wanting to just like relax with some nice, clean, and simple, like bring some zen back into my life cards here. So this set was really good for me to make and super fun to create. So now that I have stamped all 6 of those little squares, I'm going to take a full sticky Post-it note. So this is a Post-it note that's got adhesive over the entire back. They're really great for masking, and you can get a lot of use out of these because stamped images, you can fit tons of stamped images on one sticky, which is awesome. So I just didn't even re-ink my image. I just stamped it right on there because I don't need it to be super clear or anything fancy. Then I'm going to bust out my glass craft mat, which is one of my absolute favorite tools in the craft room. And I'm going to use my craft knife, and I am going to cut this out because I'm pretty much making a reverse mask with this sticky note here. So I'm not actually going to use the piece of candy. I'm going to use everything around it so that I can color the candy. So you'll see what I mean later when I start demoing with this. I did want to let you guys know that I have added over on my blog a My Favorite Goodies page. And so that's where I've kind of listed a whole bunch of stuff that I use on a super regular basis that I couldn't live without in my craft room. So I thought of that because I busted out my glass craft mat, and that is one of my favorite tools, and it's definitely over on my goodies page. So if you're interested in just kind of some of those basic supply needs and that sort of thing, you can always check out that page, and I'll keep it updated if I find something else that's super awesome. And I'm still kind of working on getting some of my favorite things on there. So keep checking back for that. So now that I have created that little mask, I am going to start doing my inking. So I have picked out 6 different colors of distress inks, and then I have made some card bases here, and these are going to be 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 square card bases, and I cut them out of some watercolor cardstock as well. So the watercolor cardstock that I use is the Canson XL Cold Press watercolor cardstock. It's a nice, affordable watercolor cardstock, and I have never had any problem with it. For the basic watercoloring that I do, it's totally great. I know there's lots of YouTubers out there that use all kinds of different watercolor paper, and there's probably some really great ones, but for my needs, this one has always done what I need it to, and it's nice and affordable, which is extra awesome. And I have this stencil from Prima Marketing. This is the honeycomb stencil, and I love these big giant polka dots. I think it's super cute. And I am just inking through the stencil onto the front of the card base. I used some Post-it tape to mask off the back of the card base so that I didn't get ink all over the back. And I'm just kind of showing you how you can do an ombre look with only one color of ink. So I'm just pushing and applying more ink at the bottom and then letting it fade out towards the top, and you can see how pretty that is when I get all done. And then I just flip the card base over, so this is actually now the inside of the card, and I'm doing just a really light ombre in the corner so that it fades off into white, so that the inside matches the outside, and you can write right over the top of that on the inside. I thought that was just kind of fun. So now I'm going to take one of my little square card fronts that I made here, and I'm going to take that reverse mask, and I'm just going to use the exact same color of distress ink. This happens to be mustard seed. And I am just going to color in that little candy with my distress ink. And I kind of pushed a little harder towards the bottom. It's a small area, so you can't really tell, but it is a little ombre in real life. And now that candy coordinates perfectly with the background on the card, and it's really super fast because you don't have to do any like shading, coloring, whatever. You're able to just use that one color of distress ink, bust it out, and get your whole card taken care of. So you can see why this went pretty darn fast. So I'm going to do one more here for you so that you can kind of see that process one more time. I'm definitely not going to do all 6 of them for you because I fear that you would be bored to death. So the colors that I'm using, I already used the mustard seed. This is Spiced Marmalade. I'm going to use Abandoned Coral, Shaded Lilac, Broken China, and Cracked Pistachio. And I will say that something that I kind of learned after I was done is I didn't wipe my stencil off in between. And so some of my lighter colors, like my Cracked Pistachio, kind of got a bunch of this orange color mixed in with it because I didn't wipe my stencil off first. So that is something that if I ever do this card design again, I will make sure to take a baby wipe and just wipe my stencil off in between colors so that I don't get that color mixing going on. And you'd probably want to watch that with your little mask for your candy also, just in case if the ink was still wet when you went to apply it on the next candy, you might get some of whatever color is already on the mask. But I didn't have any problem with that because I was kind of taking a little bit of time to do the stenciling in between using the mask. So I was able to, the ink was able to dry and it didn't smear or anything. So you see how quick and easy it is to color that image. And you could do this with any image, like just create a reverse mask and then you can pop it right on top and use any ink blending over the top of it to color it in. It's something that I have never really done before, but it was like super fast, especially on this more simple card design. It's definitely something I will be doing in the future. So this is the last one that I'm doing here. This is the Shaded Lilac, and this is a really light color, so it did take a little bit of layering to build up some color on that candy, but when you pull the mask off, you can really see the color pop. So now that I have all of those taken care of, I'm just going to wipe off my craft mat. I have my craft mat. This is a Ranger craft mat and it's wrapped around a clipboard. So I've mentioned that in a few other videos, but I like to just throw that in every few videos for those of you who are maybe new to my channel. It works really, really well for me to have my craft mat on the clipboard like this. It just makes it really easy to move around. I can just put it away and get it out really fast and clean it off. And it's always a nice hard surface and it doesn't slide around while I'm using it, which is awesome. So I cleaned up all the ink and now I'm going to take a mini mister, and this has water in it that I have mixed with regular Perfect Pearls, and I am just going to go ahead and spritz a couple of those Perfect Pearly Shimmery sprays right over the top of each of these card fronts. So I'm just kind of using my hand for a very loose mask so that the back doesn't get super covered in this stuff, but I'm not really concerned if it kind of gets on there. So this not only adds a really fun shine to the front of the card, but it also kind of makes the ink model just a little bit, and I did let those air dry, so I got a really cool kind of texture on the front of those polka dots. So you can't see it really well in the video, but it looks really pretty in real life. I took my Spectrum Noir clear sparkle pen and colored over the top of all the candies. In between each color, I did wipe it off on a paper towel so that I didn't contaminate any of those colors back and forth. And then once that had dried, I took my white gel pen and I'm just going to color in all of the little kind of stripes on that candy wrapper, and then I added just a little bit of white detail on the edge of the wrappers. Now I will say that later I'm going to cover these candies with some glossy accents because I wanted it to look like they were kind of wrapped in cellophane. And these white details kind of faded out a little bit with the glossy accents. Last time I used glossy accents over the top of Distress Ink, somebody had asked a question about whether or not I had any bleeding when I did that. I didn't. This project is pretty simple. I don't have a lot of shading or anything, so it's not a great example of that, but I have never really had a problem as long as I don't like kind of drag the moisture of the glossy accents around in the color. It does reactivate underneath, but it doesn't like move around unless I'm kind of dragging that color around. I don't know if that makes sense. It's more like I want to gently place my glossy accents on top of the color instead of swirl it into the color. So I don't know if that makes any sense. If it doesn't, ask a question in the comments. I'm happy to answer whatever, but if it does help, then yay. So to finish off these little front panels, I am using some lawn trimmings. This is, I believe it's called Lemonade, and it's this really pretty color that's kind of got some oranges and yellows and pinks kind of in a gradient around the floss so that the twine is like kind of all different shades, so each one gets a slightly different color on it, and with only using one spool of twine. So I went with that one so I didn't have to pick out a whole bunch of different twines to match each candy. I was like, this will just be the element that ties every card in together with the same color. So I just tied that right around the top of those little watercolor panels that are going to go on the front. And then I futz with that bow like forever. I am not an expert bow tire, especially with twine. Like it's just got just enough stiffness to it that it just drives me bonkers. But I did finally make it look the way I wanted it to. And then I'm going to put a micro glue dot right underneath the little knot in the bow just to make sure that it stays where I wanted it to after all of my futzing around and getting it perfect. And then obviously I had to tweak it some more because I'm just never satisfied when it comes to things like this. So I am going to trim the tails down a little bit. I thought about leaving like super fun long tails, but that twine was just not curling the direction that I wanted it to, which is, you know, I guess twine will be twine, and Twine and I do not have a super awesome relationship, but we're working on it. We're like in twine therapy. I don't know. I'm very tired, guys. I don't know if that's coming across. So I'm going to use some foam tape, and I'm just going to put a little bit of that on the back of these watercolor panels so that it pops up in the middle of the card just to make it a little bit more of a focal point. And I will peel off the backing and then stick that right in the middle. I love that there's enough of the border around that you can still see that really awesome polka dot pattern and the really pretty perfect pearl mist that's on there. So I am just going to go ahead and repeat this process with tying the bow and then popping the little panels up on all 6 of the cards. And obviously the candy with the coordinating color goes on the coordinating polka dots. And then I am going to take my glossy accents and I will just fill in each one of those little candies with the glossy accents. So like I said, I thought that made it look like the candies were still wrapped up in the little candy wrapper, and added just a little something extra on these nice clean and simple note cards because they are pretty clean and simple. It's pretty great when you can create 6 cards in under an hour. Like, that is a big deal in my world. So I was pretty excited. Like I said, I just needed some like zen time, so it was really awesome to do a whole set and just get to like repeat processes, because once I kind of came up with the initial design, I was able to just like turn my brain off and just like zone out. Oh, sorry, my head is totally getting in the way. I have a much larger camera stand now than I did before, and my head actually fits under it, and I don't like notice because I'm so used to having to really get my head in there to get it on the camera. So I'm gonna have to start paying better attention to that. You can totally check out my crazy fuzzy hair that happens at night when I'm crafting. So sorry about that. So now I am doing the very last card here and just putting that glossy accents over the top, and you can see what I mean. Like, I just kind of squeeze it and lay it right on top. I'm not really dragging that glossy accents around. Once it's on the card, it stays there. So that is the finished project for today. You can see, kind of see that beautiful shimmer there. I love how when you open it, it just coordinates. Nice, clean, and simple. You can never have enough thank you cards. There you can see some of the shimmer and sparkle on everything. So I love the way that these turned out. I love that the inside matches the outside and you get this rainbow of really pretty pastel colors. So thank you guys so much for joining me for this Mint Owl Studio project today. Check out the description box below for more links and crafty inspiration, and also to shop over at Mint Owl Studio. Thanks guys. Bye.